Alright, welcome back to part 2 of my returning long serves video. In this part of the video, we are going to go over how to return long, basically variants of long underspin serves, including just pure long underspin with some side spin, and then also light underspin. If you haven't seen part 1 of my video, it goes over all of the fundamentals and kind of basics you need to know for returning long serves in general. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch it. I'll have a link to that video up on the screen right now. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the video. Alright, so I'm going into this video with the assumption that you already know how to loop on both sides. So you know how to loop against underspin on your forehand and on your backhand. If you don't worry, I'm gonna have videos on that coming up soon. But this video is gonna be more strategical and kind of how you should be going about returning these long underspin serves than it is mechanical. So I'm not going to be discussing technique too much here. With that being said, let's go over the ways you can return long underspin on your forehand, and then the way that you can return long underspin when it comes to your backhand. So similarly to when you're returning long topspin, when you're returning long underspin, the mistake a lot of beginners make is that there's some side spin on the ball and they overcompensate for that side spin way too much. Whenever there's underspin with side spin, you want to treat it exactly like you would treat just a regular underspin ball. And ideally you have just enough force and kind of pressure from your own loop to overpower any side spin that might be on the ball. And to compensate for the side spin, instead of changing your technique, you just want to change where you're aiming. So if you know how to loop against underspin in multi-ball or in kind of practice drills, then you know how to return any long underspin serve with a loop. So the other mistake a lot of beginners make is just overpowering or overcooking their loops against underspin. They try to play these almost flashy looking shots when really all you need when you're looping an underspin serve is to have a high quality ball deep onto the table with a lot of spin, and it doesn't need to be a winner. If your opponent blocks the ball, that's fine. You can rally with them and kind of see what happens, and it's better to loop a ball that's going to land 95% of the time and give you a chance than to make your shot look flashy and have it land only 50% of the time. So those are kind of the key points when returning underspin serves. And if you haven't seen my first video, part 1 to this, I highly recommend you go and watch that because it goes over these kind of fundamentals that I'm talking about in a lot more detail. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start with returning long underspin that goes to your forehand. Alright, so starting with long underspin that comes to your forehand, first things first, if you're not comfortable looping the ball and you know that for sure there's some underspin on it, there's absolutely, at least at the lower levels, there's nothing wrong with giving your opponent a really high quality pushback instead of looping. And if you want to know how to return with high quality pushes, then go and watch the video that I have up on screen right now. It goes over all the strategy and angles that you need to know when pushing, and it goes over how even just a simple push can be really effective all the way up to kind of the professional level, and there are times when it can be even more viable than a loop. So that's your first option. You get a long underspin serve, and if you push the ball with high enough quality, if you're playing a good player, yes, they are going to loop it, but they're not going to kill the ball past you. At best, they're probably going to spin the ball up, give you a chance to block and then rally, and then you can kind of see what happens. Of course, you never want to dink the ball over the net because then you're going to let your opponent hit a winner. So yeah, your first option is just they serve long underspin and you give that ball right back to them, make them open, or maybe hopefully they dink back to you and give you an easier ball to loop. So the other option, of course, is looping, which is what I'm going to talk about now. I'm mainly going to be focusing just on your pure long serves, so half long serves, which require a slightly different technique to your regular underspin loop, and kind of balls that come out wide this way, where you have to have some more advanced footwork to loop them. I will cover in a separate video. So these are just going to be your more orthodox long balls that are obviously long, that come out to your forehand and you have a chance to loop them. So when looping on your forehand, what you don't want to do, and the mistake a lot of people make, is they rush and they try to loop right off the bounce. You don't want to do this. You want to let the ball bounce. You want to let it come out. Close to the peak is where you want to be contacting the ball. And you just want to drop your paddle and spin up to play your shot. So again, this doesn't need to be a winner. Ball comes out, drop your paddle, and just spin up. The more spin you get on the ball, the deeper it is onto the table, the higher quality it's gonna be, and the less likely they are to kill it. So one more time, if the ball comes long to your forehand and you want to loop, all you need to do is drop your paddle and just spin up deep onto the table. You don't need crazy winners or flashy shots or flashy loops or anything. You're in your ready position, ball comes long to your forehand, recognize it, react fast, and then just spin the ball up. If it's really heavy, start lower, spin up more. If it's not as heavy, you need less backswing and you would come more forwards and less up. So with underspin, the heavier it is, the more up you come. The lighter it is, at the extreme, if it was pure no spin, you would just come forwards. And the same actually applies on the backhand, so I'll just cover it in the same clip. You want to let the ball bounce. You want to be close to the table, but while being close to the table, let the ball bounce to pretty close to its peak. And then again on the backhand, you're not trying to hit some flashy winner when you loop. You're just trying to spin up, use your elbow as the pivot point, and get the ball with a lot of spin deep onto the table so that you're giving yourself a chance to rally when you play. Just like on the forehand, if it's really heavy, just drop the paddle more, go down, spin up. If it's light, or at the extreme, if it's no spin, then you don't really need a backswing. And if you do have a backswing, it has to be from back to forwards, not down to up, and you would just come forwards. So one more time, just to reiterate so it all makes sense. The key is the more underspin, the more down to up, and the more you brush, well, you brush always, but the more you brush up, the less underspin, the more you come back to forwards, or just keep the shot a little bit more compact. But regardless of the level of spin, you don't want to be hitting winners on these shots. You just need to play with controlled aggression, lots of spin, deep onto the table. Who cares if your opponent can block it? That's just going to give you a chance to rally. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to looping long underspin serves. Like I said, I'll have a tutorial on how to actually play loops against underspin, the actual mechanics, in a separate video. And I know part 2 was a little bit shorter than part 1, but that's just because it's less information to cover. So to finish off the video, I'll actually put some examples of my own match play in here, of me looping against long underspin, so you can kind of see what it looks like in action, and then hopefully it'll all come together and make a little bit more sense. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy the footage.